What it do, Space Crew? It's currently the end of April in this video, and I've decided to cosplay at Brooklyn Comic Con. So who am I going as? Lopunny. It's in the title of the video. But I'm going to do Mega Lopunny specifically. That's probably also in the title too, who am I kidding? I will be making this with knit crochet, and I have the option between regular beige and shiny pink. Also, this is just a process video, not a tutorial, but I will explain what I'm doing, just not specifically how I'm doing it. I will link videos in the description below for specifics. So let's take a look at what yarn I already have. Ha! Well, I think this speaks for itself. We're doing Mega Lopunny. I have a lot of the same color beige here, whereas my pink bin is all different pinks. These have no label, but I can tell these are Red Heart Super Saver, in the color Orange. Other good options are Big Twist Cream and Karen Cream or Off-White. Like I said before, I'll be creating this with both knit and crochet, specifically these tools. A few stitch markers, a needle for weaving in ends, a 5mm and 4mm crochet hook, 4.5 circular knitting needles, a 22 needle circular knitter, a 30 needle circular knitter, and a 40 needle circular knitter. Now, I'm using the knitting machines to save time and wrist strain, especially since I'm preparing for a convention at the same time I'm making this costume. But you can use circular knitting needles or a crochet hook for all the parts I did with machine. As for what yarn I'm using, it's all acrylic worsted 4-weight yarn, since that's what's in my stash. All knitted parts will be with 1 strand worsted, and most crochet parts will be 2 worsted strands to make it a 5 bulky weight. If you don't like acrylic yarn, then chenille and Burnett blanket yarn are great alternatives, and will look the most like fur and cotton fluff. But since I mostly have worsted 4 in my bin, that's what I'm going to use. For colors, I need beige, pink, and medium brown. I use these ones specifically. Now that I have all my materials, it's time to plan this out. Since this is a process video, I won't be showing the exact pattern I'm crocheting, especially since I'm making it up as I go, but I'm going to explain what I'm doing. First, let's break down the parts of Mega Lopunny we need. I chose Lopunny because it's a very versatile design for cosplay. Both its base and mega form are similarly built. I can use the same brown pieces for both forms, and just swap out the beige parts if I want to do the other form. It's 2 costumes in 1, 4 if you want to go with the shiny forms, which are just pink instead of beige. I'm not much of a cosplayer, so I like doing costumes where I can incorporate regular clothes I can keep in my wardrobe. Pokemon are great for this. The cosplay design is entirely up to you. So I'm gonna wear a black crop top and rip tights. Definitely something I'll use later. Now let's add the ears. I'll be using the circular knitting needles and machine for the brown part, and crochet for the pink inner ear. Then I'll attach it to a headband with wire. Next, the ear and head fluff. I'll crochet these, then attach them to the ears, and again, these can be swapped out for shiny base forms. I'm gonna need arm and leg warmers. I'll be wearing this in June, so I'm gonna make them lacy, and use the knitting machine, then crochet a border on top to keep the fluffy look. And that's the base of the costume. I like platform shoes, so I'll wear some platform slides and some heart earrings because it's cute. Looking good. Let's get to making it. I started with making the poofs first because I had another project on the knitting machine at the time. I need 2 sets of poofs for each ear, which I will make by crocheting around a hair tie. The color of the tie doesn't really matter since you won't see it through the poof. I'm using the 5mm hook with 2 strands working 3 double crochets in each stitch. Here is the result. A nice poofy scrunchie, and you can't see the black tie. I did 2 rows high. Now remember, I said I'm making this up as I go along, so here was the next one that I made. You can't see the black tie, and it's also 2 rows high, but it's not as dense. So I went back and counted the stitches, and figured out what happened. I chained 60 stitches around the tie here, and chained 30 stitches around here. Which do you like more? I was strapped for time, so I used both, but I think I like the 60 stitch one more. The pattern for each of these would look something like this. I'll link a good video tutorial for making this kind of scrunchie below. Then I went and got ahead of myself and decided I wanted 2 different size poofs. So I made these. The same 60 and 30 chain poofs, but with an extra 3rd row of half double crochets. This time I actually like the big 30 chain one more. What do you think? I also went back and ran some yarn through the loops on the tie just in case the tie breaks later on. On to the arm warmers. You'll see here I started making this part here, but after making the scrunchy poofs, I knew I'd have to cut this for time. So I'll show you what I did instead later. I'm using the 22 needle knitter and knitting 7 rows of waste yarn. I'll crank out 15 rows, then another 7 rows of waste yarn to take it off. Since this will be a drop stitch arm warmer, it will double in length. The 22 needle knitter is good for thinner arms, but since I have thicker upper arms, I'm going to use the circular needles to make it wider on top. I'm not worried about making the whole arm larger because it will stretch plenty when I drop the stitches. The top opening won't stretch, so I do need to make that larger. I worked an increase into each stitch around, then knitted once more around. This is definitely easier to do if you have circular needles with a shorter cord, but I didn't, so I made do. For a drop stitch pattern, I'm going to cast off both ends of the tube with 4mm crochet hook. I'll link a video tutorial for how to cast off for drop stitch. You need to leave every other stitch live, so the cast off will be different than usual. Here's the best part, dropping all the stitches. Do it all again, and move on to the leg warmers. This process will be similar, except I'll use the 30 needle knitter, which is wide enough for just above my knee, so I don't need to increase at the end. I got a bit fancy and started with the E-wrap cast on this time, but starting with waste yarn like before is just fine. Crank out 40 rows, then finish with the waste yarn. I used about 7 rows again, that's usually about what I go with. Then take your tube off and get ready to finish with the crochet hook. Cast off with the crochet hook, again leaving every other stitch live. Remove the waste yarn and pull. This is just 6 double crochets in each chain around. At this point, we are well into May, and I've been doing nothing but yarn work and comm prep. So I'm gonna take a break. I got my hair done. Despite my face, I'm very happy, but I'm also very tired by this point in time. I decided to go with long braids instead of a fro poof, so let's switch that out. I then went to a nearby trim shop to pick out some ribbon for my arm and leg warmers. I got this brown velvet ribbon just in case the one I want to use, this thicker brown one, doesn't fit. It matches my colors better though. And because I cut out the puff bow to save time, I'll be replacing it with this fluffy ribbon. In fact, I knew I wasn't going to have time to wire up my ears, which I haven't made yet, mind you, so I'll be letting them hang loose. Also, I'm dropping the inner ears too. Crunch week was approaching fast. So let's actually make those ears. I used the 40 needle machine and this time put on some waste yarn and cranked out 250 rows. Then I picked it up off the machine with my circular needles. I had to go back and fix these drop stitches. So once that was done, I could start making the points for the ears. I divided my stitches in half and placed my stitch markers there. Then I knit each one until I hit a stitch marker and decrease 2 stitches into one, all the way until I have 2 stitches left. Cast off and hide my tail ends. Then I'll finish my ends here with the crochet hook, a normal cast off this time. I'll leave these open for when I go back and wire them for another time. At some point in time, I did my nails black to match Lopunny's black claws. And I got started on the tail I'll pin in the back. Just like with the beige parts, I made this with 2 strands worsted weight yarn with the 5mm hook. It's just a simple amigurumi ball, though I did make the bottom a bit flatter so it pins to my back easier. Alright, so we're gonna have to work with the safety pins here to get the ears done. And that's basically what I'm just going to do. I'm just going to wrap it around here. So originally the intention was to wire my ears so that I can bend them and hold them up straight like the Lopunny does have them. I'm just going to have them flop because there's just no time for me to do that. But what will happen is when I wear it, they will come over like this so that you won't see the safety pin side. So let's see how that works on my head. Okay, so a real quick test run just with some bobby pins and my bows. See how it's holding. It's good, so it's just not gonna come up like I wanted it to, like it's supposed to come up when it was wired, but it's holding. So I will put on the scrunchies now and make sure that that holds as well. Okay, so literal last minute, this is how we worked it out. That space is where the bow part is gonna go. So this is how I'm gonna do for now. I had to take some puffs off of the ears because it was too heavy. So I have the big poofs around my ears as my lows and the small poofs as my high poofs. And that's how we'll figure it out. So let's get this all put together. In my June vlog, which I'll link up top once it's up, you'll see I've already gone to the convention site to begin setup. And after being there for some time, I knew I'd get cold from sitting in one place all day. So I was prepared. I got these ruffled wide shorts and a knit cardigan to warm up. So here's how it came out. Other people definitely got better pictures of me than I got of myself. I promise I'll take better ones next time. If you're interested in seeing an updated look on this cosplay, or even a regular Lopunny version, let me know in the comments. I was thinking of making the regular Lopunny more winter-based, since this outfit was more for summer. At this point, I'll be running my booth and having fun. I also had an entirely different outfit picked out for Sunday, which I think looked pretty cute. Check out my art TikTok or my art Twitter to watch the mini speed paints I did of both of my con looks. Now I've got some orders to fulfill. See you in the next vid. Bye!